And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, smAsho. And we're starting out today's Daily Space Weather by looking at the sun in 193 angstroms. We don't see any sunspots. A few relatively minor coronal holes there, on and south of the equator, an active region north of the equator, and a second one forming. No coronal mass ejections, pretty low levels of activity. And if you're wondering where this is coming from, we are streaming live at twitch.tv/smAsho. Next, looking at the sun here in 171 angstroms, fading it out to the magnetic fields, fading it out to the fields. There are the potential field force lines. And here's 304 angstroms. And we'll fade back to 171 to give you some visual, whatever you want to call it. Pretty big filament there in the northwest. And let's move on to look at a close-up of that active region. And there you see that relatively large plage, as well as the north solar polar region. Next, we're going to look at the 304 angstroms 48-hour SDO video. And there's 48 hours of activity in 304 angstroms, one of the ionized states of helium emission spectra. And a bit of activity going on up there in the northwest. KP index is currently at 1, which is, by the way, for you new viewers, thanks for tuning in. This is a measurement of the overall Earth's geomagnetism. 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dropped back down to 69 from 71 where it was yesterday. And we've been sleeping well. How about you, based on the fact that we've got a new moon? Well, now we've got a waxing crescent, but here's where stuff is in the solar system. Here's where it'll be in 1 week on the 31st, as Venus moves into a conjunctive location between the Earth and the Sun. Next, looking at a star chart. Let me press refresh on that. It's in-the-sky.org, by the way. And if you've gotten up before sunrise, you should be able to see Jupiter and Saturn and Mars up there on or near the ecliptic. We don't see any sort of X-ray flaring happening right now from the sun, and no significant proton events. No surprises there. Let's look at the real-time solar wind. And we do see a strike here. Sudden increase, not a super sudden increase, but a gradual increase, more like, of the solar wind, having made it up to around 13.5 protons per cubic centimeter here. Looks like it's come off its highs. We'll be watching that. And we see some interesting magnetosphere issues, too, going on in a minute. We'll show you. Anyway, current solar wind density, 9.46 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed, 321. Very low levels, and if that's a coronal hole wind stream headed in, and it likely is, we're going to see an increase in the solar wind speed throughout the day today. And we're going to talk very briefly about cosmology. And we're going to say the words condensed matter. Why? Because it's likely what stars are made out of, not a gaseous plasma with a fusion core. Let's talk about Fraunhofer lines. We're talking about absorption spectra, which is observed in the sun. And let's just read a quick paragraph here. In 1862, Kirchhoff was the first to argue that the Fraunhofer lines provided evidence for a condensed solar body. Quote, in order to explain the occurrence of the dark lines in the solar spectrum, we must assume that the solar atmosphere encloses a luminous nucleus producing a continuous spectrum, the brightness of which exceeds a certain limit. The most probable supposition which can be made respecting the sun's constitution is that it consists of a solid or liquid nucleus heated to a temperature of the brightest whiteness, surrounded by an atmosphere of somewhat lower temperature. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend reading probably the most important astronomy cosmology paper of our lifetimes, 40 lines of evidence for condensed matter, the sun on trial, liquid metallic hydrogen as a solar building block. And let's look at these oddities in the magnetosphere. We've got some missing data here in the magnetosphere movies, so we're going to look at density first, and we see extremely high density shown here on the solar side. So the sun is out this way in these movies. And you're looking at the equatorial plane here on the left and the meridional plane here on the right. And you see that sudden data loss happening there. Not exactly sure what's going on with that. But right at 6:20, we've got an hour of missing data there as that density increase happened. And that looks honestly like more density than is showing on the Discover Solar Wind data. It's quite odd indeed. High density, keep in mind, is shown here in dark blue. Low density shown here in white. So we don't really see other data backing this up. Not sure what's going on there, if it's some errors in the space weather modeling framework, maybe because the electron flux is so low. I really have no idea. And I'm letting this play through a second time just so you can see how weird that is. And next we're going to look at the pressure. And you see the missing data reflected here at the same time, going right from 6:20 to 7:20, right there. And you can see considerable pressure here, as if the plasmasphere is fully full of plasma. So normally, let me just give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Normally these empty spaces here and here, those are the plasmaspheres, that area there, where you see a lot of empty space with very low magnetohydrodynamic pressure. According to the space weather modeling framework, they are like completely full of plasma now. So that's interesting, and not sure if it's anomalous data or if it's real. But let's play this one more time from the beginning, and you're going to see the data loss coming in right about here, where we fast forward 1 hour. And are things normalizing? Is the Earth going to siphon up a whole bunch of plasma out of the solar wind? Who knows? But it's something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say eye on, the pun is intentional. Here are the ground geospace magnetic perturbation maps. And we don't really see a lot of ground magnetic perturbations here, despite those sudden changes in the magnetohydrodynamics, both the density and the pressure. So let's let this play through all the way since it's refreshed. Most of the magnetic perturbations in the north are near the net pole, which is east of Greenland, and the south pole clearly in the southern Indian Ocean there, southwest of Australia. GOES magnetometer is looking pretty smooth, and we are back in the south pole oriented portion of the current sheet. Here's what we're talking about. It's the top view ecliptic plane field plot. And we see evidence of either the South Pole weakening, the North Pole strengthening, or both, as these changes in the ecliptic plane polarity do not appear to be caused by surface activity, unless perhaps it's on the other side of the sun. So keep in mind this data is 4 hours and 39 minutes old, which is about as old as it gets. Let's see if we can load a newer one here. And it's showing us that's the newest data. So here's the line of sight field plot, and you will see some perturbations in the B field. That's the sun's B field right there. You see it's a little bit wobbly there. And my best guess is that is associated with North Pole polarity increase, the strength of the solar polar north field, I believe. Or conversely, it could be a weakening of the south solar polar field, as there is a net field that we're talking about here, which is shown in blue. It's the B field. It represents the magnetic tug-of-war the sun is doing with itself. Electron flux is incredibly low. Look at this level here. I mean, it's not able to get off the floor here for quite a long time. very low levels of electron flux. That's the greater than 2 mega electron volt. Here's the greater than or equal to 2 mega electron volt electron flux measured by the GOES 16, which, by the way, is measuring it at the ionosphere layer. And let's look at the total electron content. And we see very, very low levels of electron flux. No surprise there, as the data isn't going to lie. Next, looking at the ionosphere to see that it's quite anomalous, actually, right now. So maybe all that plasma is making it down into the ionosphere. It could make for some interesting phenomena on the Earth side of things. Quite an anomalous ionosphere, I say again. Heavily charged up on both the daytime and nighttime side. So, and there you can see, it's a bit discharged on the daytime side, it's a bit charged on the nighttime side. That is a straight up anomalous ionosphere. Next, looking at earthquakes. We don't see anything over a 6 magnitude. And we're just going to scroll up the list here. We don't want the video to be too long, as we've got a second video coming out today later. Here's a 5.2 magnitude at depth. The depth is 127.5 kilometers, and that's located at Chile, where we've been seeing deep quake after deep quake for indeed years. Here's another deep quake at Vanuatu. It's a 4.8 magnitude at 214 kilometers depth. As Nevada gets struck over and over again following that 1 week old 6.5 magnitude quake. It continues to shake and shake. Next is a 4.4 magnitude quake at New Zealand. That one came in at 2240 last night, universal time. The depth there, 217 kilometers. And then only 10 minutes later, we see a 5.3 strike Greece. 12 minutes later, a 5.6 strike the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And 43 minutes after that, a 4.9 strikes the Mid-Indian Ridge. Did I say Mid-Atlantic? I meant Mid-Indian. Mid-Indian Ridge, Mid-Indian Ridge. Next we see a 4.2 strike Bolivia. It's a 4.2 magnitude at 208 kilometers depth. And let's move on, as there's plenty more things to talk about, like volcanoes. Now, Abico's erupting, and it's an uptick there at Abico. It's producing a 15,000-foot flight level. Please don't attempt to fly your hang glider over Mount Abico. It could make for unfortunate health outcomes. Now, also erupting, flight level 5,000 there. Suwanosejima back on the list. Unknown cloud, please don't attempt to pole vault the caldera. Semeru exploding, flight level 13,000. Popocatépetl. The Volcanic Ash Advisory Center for Washington issued the following report. Volcanic ash has dissipated? I don't know. Sangay exploding, flight level 20,000 there. And Sabancaya also exploding, producing puff emissions and a 23,000-foot above sea level plume of ash. Please do not attempt to do the triple Lindy over that. And now we're getting very scared and very spooked. Very spooked and very scared, because, oh my gosh, it's baited Chad. 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 So learn how to say Chad like Trump. And come with me as I touch my face repeatedly. And I talk about covidiocy, covidiots, COVID-19, coronavirus, or if you prefer, how about the SARS-CoV-2? Whatever you want to call it. And I think it's about time to... let's do a Captain Kirk quote. I've had enough of you! All right, see ya. Viruses are not your enemy, folks. Now, Let's talk about the lasting impact of the coronavirus going forward. Alongside the devastating economic consequences that we have yet to truly face could be deepening regional, cultural, and political polarization that has been building in recent years. There are also precisely the sort of differences that are only escalated by centralized political power, and that will only be fueled by the upcoming theater of the 2020 presidential election. Now, I knew things were going to get crystal clear in 2020. I didn't really know what that meant. But are you finding bureaucrats coming out of the woodwork and violating the Constitution and enforcing tyrannical nonsense? National tragedies tend to bring a country together. However, there's a distinct possibility that COVID-19 will keep America divided. So in any case, centralization is dead, folks. The smarter and more connected you are, the less you need the government. So this article here on Zero Hedge, authored by Though Bishop, and it's from the Libertarian Institute / Mises Institute, an Austrian economics, supply side economics organization, and you should read what they're talking about. Now, yesterday we talked about the champion of mass murder and elder abuse, Andrew Cuomo. Of course, we had to make a custom gift, a GIF. It's a gift, a gift in the form of a GIF. Now, a local drive-in theater tried to open, and guess what? This bootlicker right here, Chief Scott M. Fogel, the police chief of Lehigh Township Police, decided to shut it down. So we've put that all over the web. By the way, if you enjoy the content, please don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube. Share with your friends, share with your foes, as we talk about whatever the heck we want. And thanks to our new subscribers, etc. Also, don't forget to check us out on BitChute, as we've got exclusive content over there, such as this video that we put up back on March 19th about hydroxychloroquine. And we even put up terms defined HIPAA before we did on YouTube because, well, I won't get into it. And thanks to our new subs over at BitChute. We appreciate your patronage. Again, please don't forget to like and share and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff. We are also on Gab, where I've recently posted about how stars emit their light via a vibrational lattice, not from a gaseous plasma. Gab.com/smAsho. We're also on Locals, Dave Rubin's news site. It's smashomash.locals.com, where I talked this morning about how stars emit their light from a vibrational lattice. Only condensed matter can emit the continuous white light spectra of the sun, and this explains almost all of cosmology and astrophysics, and the implications of this will change everything we currently understand about astrophysics, cosmology, and heliophysics. You want to know how the sun really works? Well, read the paper. You can also find it at smashomash.com/forum in the heliophysics forum. There's a thread dedicated just to the liquid metallic hydrogen solar model, and it's the most exciting science of our lifetime, in my opinion, so prepare yourself for a whole new universe of expanding science and wonder. The implications for human technology are super serious. Also, we're also on Twitter, where we've posted about bootlicker Chief Scott M. Fogel, who swears to uphold the U.S. Constitution when he becomes police chief. He just doesn't believe in doing so. So we're also on Facebook. As all kinds of statist bootlickers come out of the woodwork. Now, if you're wondering where we are on Facebook, it's facebook.com/smashomash. And thanks to Smash staff, we're glad you're feeling better for posting all of the videos and other interesting stuff on the pages. We're also on Minds. It's minds.com/smashomash. And we haven't posted anything there yet today, but we will. Are you surrounded by COVIDiots? What do you think about Dr. Rachel Levine, former NCAA linebacker? What do you think about big tech? Please leave a comment if you appreciate big tech trying to censor all kinds of stuff, whether it's useful information or real fake news about COVID-19. What about Dr. Neil Ferguson? Would you like to see him behind bars, since he's cost untold trillions of dollars to the world with his computer model about COVID-19 death counts? Have you been walking your dog wearing a ski mask and feeling protected because you're a COVIDiot? Anyway, please feel free to send an email to Governor Andrew Cuomo about what you think about his governance, since your dead family member is now in a better place, smiling down upon his brilliant governance. Are you familiar with what happened in nursing homes? Let's talk about science for a quick moment. Science works like this. We see something happen in nature, then we use observation and experimentation to explain the phenomenon. Here's how it doesn't work. You see something in a lab, and then you search and search and search all over nature for evidence of the phenomenon. That's not the way it works. That's nonsense. That's dogma. That's religion. That's not science. Let's get back to data. And by the way, if you're viewing live, please don't forget to leave a comment. Here's the US weather.gov map, the National Weather Service. And it looks like we've got frost advisories in most of the state of Maine, as well as a foggy Lake Michigan. Hard freeze warnings in northwestern Colorado, and excessive heat watches in the west. Next, looking at windy.com's pressure maps. We'll let this advance via the GFS forecast to show you where pressure cells are anticipated to be around noon tomorrow, my time. By the way, for you new viewers out there, again, thanks for tuning in. I am located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. There's where we expect pressure cells to be. And we have a big area of dry, massive air here, all the way from Finland to Cape Cod. And it's a series of anticyclones. You can see that clockwise rotation associated with that dry air. And some anticyclones in the south also, such as this one down here in the South Pacific. Yes, folks, anticyclones rotate counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere. And dear Windy, give me control of my computer, or you are going to face my wrath. Don't face my wrath. I will start talking like Duke Nukem and make you regret it, or something. Here's where the jet streams are located. And man, oh man, the eastern world has got some jacked up jet streams. Extreme meridional jet stream flow when it's like this. Normally the jet stream is more like this, folks. At solar minimum, jet streams like this, folks. That's what causes the extreme weather. It's got nothing to do with carbon dioxide, by the way. And here's the western world's jet streams. Extremely diffuse over the eastern U.S. Extreme meridional jet stream flow pulling cold air down here into places like the Western Rockies. How many jet streams is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Quadrupled or more jet stream here over the Atlantic Ocean. So extreme bends in the jet stream there, no surprise. It's now the norm. It's not the oddity. Let's get through some more stuff here. It's the water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. There are those. Here's a water vapor map for the Far East and for Oceania. Next, we'll look at some lightning maps as we see some lightning striking in the central U.S. Hey, Sioux City. Hey, Omaha. There's thunder rolling in. And I have a feeling you're about to get hit. U.S. Doppler Radar map shows you the progression of those heavy storms. And places like northwestern Iowa could be in the crosshairs for things like damaging hail and severe winds. In the northern hemisphere, tornadoes have a tendency to hide in the northwest corner of storms. And I'm not going to get into a deep meteorological explanation of that or an atmospheric physics explanation of that. Let's just move on and look at the U.S. cloud base. There's what's going on in the cloud layer, and we're looking at the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. The shortwave radiation satellite shows us clouds at nighttime when it's too dark to see them with the visible. And here's the water vapor map for the same time and place. And you see this big atmospheric pond here in the central U.S. And let's take a look at that convergence zone there over western Iowa. Shout out to our Iowan viewers. Congratulations, living on top of some of the most fertile soil on the planet. And there you can see that system there has basically made a turn. It's moving almost due east now. It should be fairly predictable. And it's catching up to this dry mass of air promptly. And let's move on to thank our patrons for being assistant and indeed associate producers of the content. Please consider becoming a patron, as we need lots more support to be able to continue what we're doing, much less expand our operation in the ways that we're planning on doing so. We're also on Subscribestar. There's also a link to PayPal for one-time donors. And thanks to everybody who's done so. Thanks for the SMASH team. Thanks to the SMASH team for sharing the content on your social media, etc. Please leave a comment. Please press like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your foes. Tell your science nerd. Tell your science noobs. And thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head and arms inside the SMASH plane at all times, because we've got 3 more bonus features here. It's the intensity gram of the local yellow dwarf to show you a heapin' helping of 0 sunspots. Here is the colorized magnetogram. And my new favorite place to watch is this region right here, as it could turn into a cycle 25 sunspot. Fingers crossed. And last but not least, let's look at one more view here. How about the 94 angstroms? It's more iron ultraviolet spectra, folks. The spectra of ionized iron. One of the states of ionized iron, that is. Anyway, we are out. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. It's Memorial Day weekend. Leave us a comment and let us know what's going on at your picnic. Are you having potato salad? Are you making homemade French fries? Hot dogs and hamburgers? We've got all that stuff. Attempt to understand the physics. Don't forget to read 40 proofs for a liquid metallic hydrogen solar model. The sun on trial. Be safe out there. Don't drive. Seriously, don't drive. If you drink, don't drive. And if you drive, don't drink. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. May the solar wind be at your back, and the tyrants have their necks beneath your